Because after 106 years in America, through the best of times and the darkest of hours, she knows how America can change. Yes, we can. America, we have come so far. We have seen so much, but there's so much more to do. So tonight, let us ask ourselves, if our children should live to see the next century, if my daughters should be so lucky to live as long as Ann Nixon Cooper, what change will they see? What progress will we have made? This is our chance to answer that call. This is our moment. This is our time to put our people back to work and open doors of opportunity for our kids, to restore prosperity and promote the cause of peace, to reclaim the American dream and reaffirm that fundamental truth that out of many we are one, that while we breathe, we hope, and where we are met with cynicism and doubt, and those who tell us that we can't, we will respond with that timeless creed that sums up the spirit of a people. Yes, we can. Thank you. God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America.
My name is Rufus Johnson. I'm the founder and the CEO of the Real Truth, Inc. I'm here today. Now look, I'm here with my co-host, Bernadette Watson. I can remember back, I think it was like the first of the year. It had to be the first of the year when now this was before we went to the inauguration. Mm-hmm. And man, you was talking about putting together a forum. Remember, we was talking, but anyway, let me introduce my co-host, Bernadette Watson. Let me get that out the way. I was about to go right into the show. But I was going back in my mind, and I was remembering us talking about putting together a forum and really identifying candidates that was going to be keeping it real and dealing with issues. The first thing I wanted to clear up real quick is this is an interview that's going to be dealing with candidates, incumbent candidates that will be leading up to a forum. I'm going to read this off real quick. Real Truth Inc. candidates bring the real truth to Cincinnati School Board and Cincinnati City Council 2013 election. Getting to know your non-incompetent candidates. Mm-hmm. Rufus Johnson, your host and producer. My co-host, Ms. Bernadette Watson. Everybody know who Bernadette Watson is. And I was thinking about this, right? I said, before we get into this, I'm going to have to go get the heaviest person I know that's been riding with me for like over 20 years. I said, I got to go get my girl Bernadette. August the 13th, you know, we have our special guests here. August the 16th, August the 20th, August the 23rd, and August the 27th. We will be having interviews with live candidates. Live call-in is 513-651-3036, 513-651-3036. So you can call in and ask any questions to our guests. This will lead up to the September 27, 2013 candidate forum, which will be from 5:30 to 8 p.m. We will be doing this on a weekly series. We're going to be doing this throughout the whole month of August leading up to September. It will be studio audience questions and answers. This will be live. You know how I do it. Live, Time Warner Cable, Channel 24. It's a 2-hour series. Now, to my co-host, welcome to the program. And just let everybody know, where we're going with our program this month.
Well, going forward with the program, thank you, Rufus, and it's glad to be with Michelle. As usual, we worked together for many years, and I'm glad she is able to open our candidates interview. I just wanted to also share that the studio audience for the forum that Rufus mentioned, we're going to make sure that we have studio audience here for you to ask of the forum questions and non-incumbents. I feel that we decided to do this way because many of the incumbent candidates have the opportunity to possibly have television and different videos and on site. And a lot of our non-incumbent candidates and have been one at one point in time, I understand how important it is for visuals. So any of you who happen to be watching the show this evening, if you would share this information where we're coming with this, tell your friends to watch so they will get an opportunity to see them firsthand and, as we call it, telling you the real truth about Cincinnati. One thing, Rufus, I do want to do, and we'll get into the introduction of our guests, the party that I belong to and the Central Democratic Committee, I would like to give homage to someone who we lost on Sunday, August the 12th. Sharon Wilson passed and has left a void within our party and a long illness, and I wanted to just at least give my prayers and thoughts to her family and know that she will always be in our heart and a memory, and the real truth that she brought to our party and her participation as co-chair of the Central Democratic Committee. And Sharon, we'll miss you, and I just wanted to say that as we move forward, because that does play an important part in people who are important in our lives, who make a difference in our city, and she was one of those people.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. She was one of those people. Michelle Dillingham, yes, a community person, been very involved with Democratic politics for years. I served on the nominating committee, Michelle, when we began to do the endorsements, and they talk about diversity in the party, and when we do endorse candidates, and she is an endorsed candidate, which she will talk about a little more. And as we were explaining ourselves and talking about what we thought about diversity, I said, well, for one thing, she is a woman. But when you talk about diversity, all of these people that we have interviewed, my thoughts were, Michelle is a white female. She has an African-American husband and a disabled child. How much more diverse can we get? And have an understanding of all people from all realms. And, I appreciate you for that. I appreciate the work that you do in your community work. And I want to welcome you to Real Truth.
Well, thank you for having me at Real Truth. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yes. Right. Michelle, tell us a little bit, I guess tell a little bit about yourself. I mentioned that you are the president currently of the Kennedy Heights Community Council, and I know that's a hard job, I know. Michael, your wonderful son that you bring with us, and is out there. You've been out there on gun violence, safety in our communities, neighborhood issues, which you truly understand, especially being the president of the community, but you're door to door. So tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are and what you stand for, and then we have a few community engagement questions that we'll ask, and then Rufus and I will share that, and of course Rufus always has questions, so he'll be able to come up, but just share a little bit with our audience, who you are and what you're all about.
Great. Well, my name is Michelle Dillingham, and I am a candidate for Cincinnati City Council's race this year, Election Day, November 5th. I have been I like to say I learned community advocacy and activism from the best, because I started years back. I'm a professional social worker, and so for many years I worked in neighborhoods with families struggling with mental illness, substance abuse, and seeking affordable housing. And I had the opportunity through University of Cincinnati to intern with former Vice Mayor David Crowley. And so
A wonderful man.
A wonderful man. So as a grad student social worker, I spent 2 years in his office as an intern. I got to work on really interesting legislation, for example, Ceasefire Cincinnati, affordable housing issues, environmental justice. He spearheaded the repeal of Article 12. So he did a lot of really great policy work, and I got to be a part of that. Then he hired me in after I graduated for his final term as his legislative aide. And so I continued that work, helping to prepare the agenda for the Health, Environment, and Education Committee that used to be there. So after I left City Hall, I went back to working as a social worker in the field, and continued to enjoy advocacy work. I serve on a number of boards, done community gardening work. I'm on the UC School of Social Work Alumni Board. I am president of the Kennedy Heights Community Council, but I've been on the board for 8 years doing neighborhood work, from bike lanes to liquor permits to dance hall permits to potholes. So I always say, community council work is really the nitty-gritty of city, and you really get to work through and get leadership on city matters, So the experience of working both down at the city administration or at City Hall, but also the experience of being out in the neighborhoods and having to advocate down to City Hall for support. So that's why I'm calling myself the neighborhood candidate, because I sort of represent a voice that I want to bring to City Hall that is a voice for the neighborhoods, and that experience of being out there doing the work of trying to grapple with street violence and foreclosure and all those other things that are happening.
Right.
So.
Well, one of the things I know with communities now that we have, there are financial issues, and there are a lot of federal dollars that are now being brought into our community from the federal government through HUD, like the programs in Avondale, and I just see the growth of the culture in our neighborhoods, Kennedy Heights Arts Center, and the things that you're doing in your business district and those kinds of things. But as we talk about those things, when we look at our city budget and where we are now, give us some thoughts about where you are and what you feel about our city budget at this point and where we are, and as we move into 2013 and 2014, once you are, as I always say, I never say if you are elected, but when you are elected.
Yeah, I like to say that too. What I've learned over all the boards I serve on, and we're a fiscal agent, and that's really what members of council are, is we are responsible for setting policy direction on how we spend taxpayer dollars. And so the budget becomes a sort of moral document in a sense. It's a valued document. It shows where we are putting our values as a community. And so things that I talk about and that are important to me and my family are things like making sure that our health centers are funded, our recreation centers are supported, things such as media bridges, where we're sitting right now, the opportunity for people to have access and civic engagement in a way that's not always available to them is really important. And of course, core services, our police, our fire. I know, like I say, when my son has had a seizure and I'm calling 911, I'm very, very happy to have a quick response time and to have police and fire there to help my family through that fearful moment. And I think everybody can appreciate, getting the help they need when they pick up the phone. The problem is, as we all know, is when you don't have enough resources to pay for everything that you think a city should provide, and that's when the tough decisions come.
Right.
So.
Well, I think, and you talk about the tough decisions and what we have to make. And tell me, as we go into the urban development and how much development that is going on in our downtown areas. When we talk about that, how do you see encouraging those of us who, or not me, because I still live in Avondale, of course, but those people who have moved from our city and who are coming back to our urban core, but rather than just to our urban core, how do we expand that and get people to want to come to our neighborhood?
Before she answered that question, I wanted to go into quick of her background. I see she graduated school, a degree in social work. She at the University of Cincinnati, introduced to policy. I see right here also that including she worked at City Hall with former Vice Mayor David Crowley. Okay.
Yeah.
So how was that run for you when you worked with Vice Mayor David Crowley?
Well, like I said, I was a social worker, so I was out, in our community, helping people find affordable housing, making sure they had medication, and so I was doing a lot of field work. And when I had the opportunity to serve at City Hall and work on sort of macro practice, as we call it in social work, which is really broad policy direction, I really came to love and understand the critical importance of having the right people work on policy. It affects so many people and so many things, and that is why it's critically important that we elect 9 members of council who will now serve 4-year terms, because we have to understand that these individuals will be directing issues around housing, how we handle homeless, how we handle development deals, who's included, who's not included, how we handle how many policemen we have, how many firemen we have. So for me, as a professional social worker, I am extremely proud, and so are my fellow social workers, to have a voice in leadership that brings that perspective that is often, I feel, missing from some of the policy discussions. And so that's why I like your show, R.E.A.L. You know, it's like when we talk about shutting down a rec center and putting the padlock on the gates, yeah, we could maybe